Gerrard knocked Rangers back for the second time. This is 20 Minute Tims. I'm your host, Jamie. I'm joined by Stephen.
What's happening?
And Melee.
Yes.
Oh, listen.
Not the word Steven Gerrard used, but
he said no thanks. Listen, if you were tuning into a Celtic podcast, 20 Minute Times, you thought we weren't going to talk about this. It is the biggest story in UK football right now, and it is the funniest thing that's happened for weeks and weeks. It's been a gloomy old season, Stephen. We've been looking for a bit of laughter and joy to bring us into the winter, and thank goodness for Steven Gerrard and Rangers for once again providing it.
It's certainly the biggest story in the UK if you're an obsessed mank like the likes of us. And you're absolutely right. If you thought we weren't going to capitalise on this for a bit of good old-fashioned hilarious content, then you're sadly wrong. Oh yeah, it was what a weekend. It was. I've got mixed feelings on it, right enough, and I'll come to that. But my initial number one feeling is, boy, was that hilarious, because it was the whole build up to it. We were subjected to days of the Tims are terrified. Mr. 55 is coming back to set the record straight and all that. Oh, it was incredible. Did you see of course you'll have seen it because our X account retweeted it, the Coldplay FIXTURES edit that was doing the rounds. People like wiping away tears and everything. All the comments were,
Gerrard, you're the one as well.
Oh, Gerrard, you're the one. You still turn me
they
on.
were posting all the old videos. There's a Rangers podcast, a really prominent one. It's called something Heart and Hand. It's called, and for a week, all they posted for almost a week were, oh, it's going to be so good. One thing was amazing. They posted, don't listen to them when they give you the 1-in-9 trophy chat. They don't understand what he brings to our club. Aye. The fear is real. And I thought, the fear is real? The guy, I was hoping they would bring him back. I was praying that they would bring Steven Gerrard back.
Yeah, me too, but for very different reasons, which kind of brings me on to my mixed feelings about it. I wanted them to bring him back, not because of the 1-in-9 trophies thing, which is quite funny as well, but obviously they won the league, which sets him apart from all the other donkeys that we've faced in the last decade, right? That does sort of elevate him above them. But the reason I'm quite disappointed about it is because it's not as funny. For me, it's certainly not as funny if they know they're going to fail. What's much, much better is if they think they're finally turned the corner and they're all holding hands, they're all running towards the cliff together, towards failure. That's much funnier than them all being pissed off with Russell Martin, being pissed off with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst or whatever. Although that's a slightly different situation. The next guy, whoever comes in off the back of Steven Gerrard, has got a hell of a task on his hand. He's basically just going to be Russell Martin Mark II in terms of the fans. But those are my mixed feelings about it. I kind of wanted... It's very difficult to hate Russell Martin, and I kind of wanted Steven Gerrard to come back in and stoke those flames a little bit for me, give me something to direct the ire towards. But yeah, it's been so funny. Honestly, the climb downs have been staggering as well. They've pivoted all the way from the Tims are terrified to, well, look at the glee on the Tims now. That just shows you they were terrified. They're laughing now. They were clearly terrified because of, look at their reaction to this. They seem pretty bothered for fans who weren't bothered about it, etc. Oh, it's been superb.
Really?
Yeah, it was nice. I was quite looking forward to him coming back because they are so excited about it, and he is such a poor manager, so we win both ways. But the fourth official, not a Rangers account, by the way, not at all.
No.
Was it football from every angle, or what was the slogan or whatever? Yeah,
every angle you can
the
see.
The fourth old pish hole.
They said about
doesn't
Gerrard.
Make sense.
No. They said about Gerrard almost being done, and what a reunion it's going to be. And somebody replied to them saying, "Aye, Monday, touch of class, them Rangers leaving it till after the Hatton funeral." I'm like, yes.
We can't announce on you.
That is a class gesture, lads. I think the class gesture merchants must have been all over that with their applause emojis and putting rivalry aside and all that sort of stuff. They must have loved that.
I've honestly never seen it. They just decided that Steven Gerrard was the next manager. And do you know what? Steven Gerrard and Rio Ferdinand and Jermaine Defoe and everyone else have just led them on a merry, merry, merry dance, because I've never quite seen behaviour like it from Jermaine Defoe. I mean, people were posting screenshots from his Instagram, it seemed this constant Instagram story was
suit
just
on and all that.
a suit on. Oh, he's going to a job interview, and posting Rangers tracksuits and posting Rangers memorabilia. All of this, it was just hilarious. They were all getting wrapped up in it, and there's honestly, I think what you said there, Stephen, like the hope that kills them is just it's the best. And
much more enjoyable, much more enjoyable. See, when they're all united against their own club and against their own manager,
they've turned on this chairman, they've turned on the chief exec, the director of football. They're all getting it now as well.
Danny Roll, is his name?
Fury.
Danny Roll, he's caught it. They're like, no way this guy can manage us. No way. I'm like, what's he done wrong?
Hey, you know what he's done wrong.
What?
I think he's a vegetarian as well.
No, he's
Jermaine Defoe as well, by the way.
Oh, I think
well-known vegan.
It's. I was having a look. So Danny Roll, I was having a wee look at his CV there, and I'm going to bring it up just to remind myself. Like you say, went to Sheffield Wednesday. Yes, it did. It was like with he was with the German national team. He was with, I don't know. The point is, he's got RB Leipzig, Southampton, Bayern Munich, an assistant manager of the Germany national team. That is a very, very good CV for a coach. They don't care about that. Nope. He's young and he's got brown hair, and he reminds them too much of Russell Wilson. He's too woke. He is far too woke, and they cannot.
Woke ideologies out of here.
I know. I've just seen so many tweets from Rangers fans like, you might as well accept it right now. We're never getting behind this guy. This is a choice you're making. You're just choosing to hate some poor German that's arriving at Ibrox, and he kind of looks like one of these wee right-wing incel Twitch streamers. So you think, I thought Rangers fans would be right behind the idea of Danny Roll. And I think finally, just one of my favourite things is that the mysticism around Rangers is just, it doesn't exist for anyone else except their fans and some of the journalists in this country. All this chat about Rangers don't need a coach, they need a manager. They need a man. They mean a man like Walter Smith, a man who's going to run the club from top to bottom, and that's what Steven Gerrard was. Why? Why? Because Walter Smith won it that way when you were kids.
He was that raging at the weekend. He was combusting.
I saw that. And then there's this notion that one of the problems with Russell Martin was he didn't wear a suit, and you need to adhere to these traditions. And I just thought, this is the same patter, Stephen, we've been hearing for 20, 30 years of our Rangers fans. They're never going to learn.
Years.
And they're just becoming unmanageable now, really.
It's we've been calling it for a while, the poison chalice. It couldn't be any more poisoned than now. If they're even talking about just guys who are like Danny Roll, I don't know anything about him other than the CV you've just read out, other than the fact that I heard Barry Bannon was raving about him as well. He worked under him at Sheffield Wednesday, and all I know about that, he's an up-and-coming coach with a bit of hunger, probably looking to prove himself in the game. That's exactly what you want. That's what I would like to have. It doesn't have to be that guy, but that's what I would like to have in the days after Brendan Rodgers. I want someone who's up and coming and wants to prove himself in the game. But they couldn't be more against it.
He was an absolute revelation this season.
I know. Well, it can't be. It can't be because it's like he's complete. Well, I imagine we got him. Sorry, no, that's completely different. But quite aside from that, the whitewashing of Steven Gerrard's managerial reputation it would give North Korea a ready, man. It's like there's some of the stuff I've heard about how good a manager he is, and I know he's been on the kind of publicity rounds as well, talking to Rio Ferdinand that you spoke about, and talking about how he wants a challenge now. He wants to go to a team that's capable of winning things. Who's going to take Steven Gerrard that's capable of winning anything? And I heard that actually the Football Ramble noted that isn't that kind of, we kind of laud people for that, laud people for saying I want to win things, but you haven't won anything anywhere apart from that one trophy at Rangers. Aren't you really just saying I'd really rather much have an easier job than a hard one? Because I've had two hard ones and I don't want that. I want to go back into teams that win things. Well, you're kind of responsible for that, Stephen, at the end of the day. But the idea that he was going to come back and revolutionise Rangers, we'll never know, probably now, unless he does another 180, which would make 360. Yes. So unless he does that, then we'll probably never know. Yeah. But some of the stuff we were subjected to about how we were all terrified in Steven Gerrard, but honestly, the guy I saw an article, I think it was from like an Aston Villa blog, some kind of fan blog or website or like a podcast, some sort of online fan media type thing, posing the question as to whether Steven Gerrard was the worst manager of all time. Aston Villa are a storied club. They've been up and down. They've been round the houses quite a lot. Mm-hmm. But they reckon he's the worst manager they've ever had. And then he went and completely wasted his time in Saudi Arabia. Maybe I'll come to my conclusion here, but maybe we've stumbled across something here. There's a lot of talk about how the timing wasn't right and all that kind of pish, right? But he met with Rangers twice and then decided the timing wasn't right. Maybe he's been away in Saudi Arabia and thought, Rangers could afford me at the time, but I've kind of seen the other side now. I've been to Saudi Arabia and I'm not coming back for anything approaching what they can pay. But yeah, it's been quite the ride. So it has in the last week or so.
Melly, what do you think was going on with this? We don't want to spend too much time scrutinising. We don't want to laugh, but we don't want to scrutinise it too much. But I did check the record, Bud, if you're in the Discord. I had been saying for a while that I suspect that this is not going to. I suspect he's not going to be Rangers manager, and I suspect that a lot of it was for show. It suits Rangers board to publicly pursue a manager that the fans want to get them back on side. It suits Steven Gerrard to sit down with Rio Ferdinand and say, I want to be a football manager again. And it suits Steven Gerrard to be linked with the Rangers job again, just to let clubs know that, I'm in the market for work and I'm seeking new opportunities. And I've got opportunities, by the way. I'm a wanted man. And then together they could concoct some reason why it didn't work out. For me, the timing wasn't right. Doesn't make any sense at all, because if the timing wasn't right for Steven Gerrard to return to management, he wouldn't have met with Rangers anyway. What do you think went on? Just let's have a bit of fun with it, though. But what do you think went on?
They're trying to appease the hordes. That's all they're trying to do here. Rangers fans want a figurehead. And now, from some of them that I have spoke to the day, they went from Gerrard, he's no coming. We may as well get Barry back. A guy that came in 8 points behind and finished 17 points behind. They want him in instead. So they don't want the coach, they don't want the up-and-comer, they want the figurehead, somebody that's going to grab somebody by the neck and pin them up against the wall. Not the wall that has a king on it, of course, because they wouldn't want that.
You might knock that down, you don't want that.
Yeah, so like with Gerrard, I kind of thought it would happen because there'd been so much speculation, but I'm sure they'll still be interviewing people over the weekend there, because they need to have a backup plan. But the board and the new director of football have probably went against the fans because of Russell Martin, seen it didn't work and thought, we need to get what they want. And then when they can't make that possible, they just need to make it look as if they did everything they could to get him and then bring in somebody else. So I think that's what's went down.
So people might be listening to this and going, oi, Tim's, you sound pretty rich, laughing at Rangers. Wasn't your own bunch of manx all ready for throwing sharks again? Because you had a meeting where people aired views that other people didn't like, didn't you? And that's kind of the way that internet discourse happens when you get slagging on the internet. It's very much delivered like Charlie Nicholas delivering a pasting. That is to say that the minutes came out for Celtic's own meeting. So we've got our own. We don't have our own troubles to seek over at Celtic. Melly, Stephen and I reacted to those minutes coming out. That podcast is available on Patreon, hot off the press. Patreon.com/20Minute Tims. And guess what? Free trials are back open, so you can log on, listen to as much as you want for a week, check it out, and if you don't like it, just quit. But obviously, we want you to stay. So
no. Forget that last bit.
Yeah, forget that last bit. Patreon.com.
Make that smaller print, Jamie. Don't say it outright.
Patreon.com/20Minute Tims. Links are in every single bio, everywhere you find us. Get yourself on there and find out what we thought in detail to those minutes the second they came out. But Melly, you weren't on that podcast, so why don't we give you the floor? What did you make of the minutes? What did you make of the meeting? What did you make of the fallout?
Equal parts shocked, equal parts could believe everything, because it's confirmed what we've all been thinking, hasn't it? They don't care what we think. They think, we'll get the peasants up, we'll give them a wee meeting, they'll go away and everything will be fine after that. But if MD was in any doubt about the people running this club and how they bleed Celtic and all that nonsense, it's a lot of crap. They think we are idiots, and they have a totally, completely different regard to what they deem as success and what we deem as success. They came out and from the very start again said world class in everything we do, and then proceeded.
Honestly, does he not know that's parody by now?
And then proceeded to contradict themselves over everything when it came to transfers, when it came to how to deal with things, when it came to fan expectation. They marked qualifying for Europe for the last 19 out of 20 seasons as success. If you want to be world class in everything you do, then you qualify for the best tournament you have. You want to be up there with the elite. They count qualifying as Europe as the standard. So what they want is to win trophies and qualify for Europe, or just to qualify for Europe. That means they're satisfied with finishing second. They're satisfied with possibly just winning a cup, because that gets you into Europe. That's what they're after. They think that's a success. And to me, to most fans, it's not. And I was angry at it, but at the same time, that quickly dissipated into, do you know what? This is exactly what I wanted, really. I wanted them to confirm what we've been thinking, what we maybe doubted at some points. There is no doubt whatsoever anymore. They have to be emptied, and we need to continue on this process. This club is and will go nowhere with these people in charge.
In fairness to the people in the room, now I wasn't there, I wasn't party to it, but Jamie, as you said, you and I reacted to it afterwards, and we went through the minutes, and yeah, we laughed quite a lot at it, but it's just one of those kind of laugh or cry things. The choice is yours. But in fairness to the people in the room, I don't think that you're absolutely right to point out that that's what they believe. That's their kind of barometer for how Celtic are successful. It's just European participation. I think it was put to them that doesn't really wash, because Celtic, just by the very nature, it's almost impossible to not qualify for Europe. Now, of course, look, that's separate to the issue of Champions League qualification, which we are infamously poor at, right? We fail that almost every time that it's on the table. It's only when they're automatically qualified that we get into the thing. But if their barometer, as I say, is European participation of any sort, then what would have to happen for Celtic to not qualify for Europe at all? Like no participation whatsoever. It would have to be an absolute unmitigated disaster, the likes of which we've barely seen. I think, was it 19 out of 20 have been in Europe of some description. So I think that's a very low bar to set. I think it's a very thin gruel to feed the fans. And in fairness, I think that the people, from what I can gather, the people in the room weren't swallowing that at all. I think they rightly pointed out that, look, Scottish football is basically Celtic plus this over the last decade plus decade and beyond. The idea that it reflects well on you, referring to the board as because we've got into Europe, I think is pushing it ever so slightly. So I was incredulous that they think that is something to feed back, that as if everyone was going to stand and applaud European participation for Celtic. Wow, that's astonishing. It's like Real Madrid or something like saying the same thing. I know that Real Madrid, well, we got into the qualifiers, we qualified for Europe, brilliant stuff. It's like Brazil qualifying for the World Cup or something like that. Well, we did it again, lads, pats on the back. You know what I mean? It's a very, very silly thing to hold up as like an achievement for Celtic. You can't pull the wool over our eyes. It's very much what happens once we're in European participation that's the problem. Yep. No getting in the door. No the admin of actually getting into one of these competitions.
I've got to say, one of my favourite bits that came out of it was a phrase that will no doubt make its way to a banner, was Michael Nicholson shrugged.
What a meme. What a meme it's been. One of a few, but that's the best one, I think.
And that was in relation to a question about Brendan Rodgers, who has final say over transfers. How do transfers work? Who has final say? Does Brendan Rodgers have final say? If that is the case, then why does he refer to some as club signings? And it's been a debate that's been bandied about for a while, but that question was put to the board, and I think it's a legitimate question to ask. I think it's a question that needs answered. You know, what is our transfer strategy here? Whether or not the board would ever answer it, as we can see, is a different story. But I think it's an important question to ask. And Michael Nicholson either shrugged, according to the minutes, or I've heard from people who might know that he didn't actually shrug. He just said, "Look, I don't really know," or "I don't know," was what he said, and the minutes made it reflected that he shrugged. So the fact of the matter is, he's clueless as to why the manager would say this.
At best there, James, sorry to jump in just on that specific point. At best, though, why not ask him then? Right. So at worst, it's he shrugged, right? And that's become the meme. But at best, it is, well, I don't know. Hasn't it occurred to me to ask the manager why he says these things in public, even though we work together, and even though, by my own words, referring to Michael Nicholson, we work together on all the transfers and we all get equal say in it, and Brendan Rodgers signs off on them. So for him to turn up to that meeting and answer something with, well, I don't know why the manager says that in public, just shows a complete lack of, one, preparedness, and two, any kind of interest in answering these questions whatsoever.
World-class communication, is it?
You were obviously going to be asked about transfers. Don't turn up and say, I don't know, or worse, shrug. That is so unprofessional for him to not even, it's not even occurred to these people to, I mean, all there was chat here about being stabbed in the back in public and the Sun and all that sort of stuff as well. So is that their answer to it? Instead of asking the manager why he says these things, we run away to the Sun and tell them that he's tearing the club apart. Why don't you just ask him what his beef is, what his problem is, instead of this?
Well, I think the whole thing about this club signings and why Brendan says things, and I think this phrase that Brendan signs off everything, I think that is just that's handy for all parties. I think that really works for everyone, and I've said this in the podcast before, but I long suspect that yes, Brendan signs off every player or gives approval to every player joining Celtic. What that means in practice, though, is would be a good follow-up question, because it sure as hell doesn't mean, yes, bring him in, he's going to be my first choice left back. You know, take Inamura, for example, a player that we've spent more minutes talking about than will actually play for Celtic. It's Brendan would have looked at him or been shown a video of Inamura and be given the facts and figures, and a conversation along the lines perhaps went like, hey, Brendan, we've got this international player from Japan, or this player from Japan. We're trying to move him into Europe. We think we could develop him. Have a look at the video. We sent you the emails last week. His numbers are there. The scouts think he's pretty decent. What do you think? And Brendan goes, yeah, bring him in. I'm sure I can work with him. That's different from, now, don't sign me any more fullbacks. Yep. I've got the guy. Because we saw that, because Inamura comes in. Brendan says, look, he's a club signing. We might send him on loan. He's one to develop. I don't understand what's wrong with it, other than by distancing yourself from it that way, Melly, you're admitting it's a failure, aren't you? Because no one's willing to say, great question, here's how we do this. Everyone's just pretending it's a mad riddle again that no one can quite work out, which, to me, if it's a good idea and they all think it's working, then people will want to take credit for it. Brendan will be buzzing to take credit for these signings, and the board, if they work, would be buzzing. In fact, they wouldn't be fighting over it, Melly, about who actually signed the players. They'd be fighting to say we signed them. Yep. All these, but that's not happening. They're distancing themselves from it, which tells you the project's a busted flush.
It is, and even if you look at Inamura himself, we brought in Srirachi, we had already brought in Tierney. So if there was a plan there for him to be a club signing, because he did say about we've signed players for the short, medium, and long term, then right, what's the plan for him not to play football for at least 6 months? Because that's not going to help anybody at all. So it's just dysfunctional from start to finish. And we thought you kind of have these preconceptions, and then you go, nah, they're not like that. Surely not. They're not like what I think. They're these people in these positions. They must have an idea of what they're doing. Turns out they don't. They didn't even know how to prepare for that meeting properly and have answers that they could maybe think, see if we hit them with this, they'll go away with it. Or if we came in and go, do you know what? We're going to look at the club signings and we're going to have a review of it, and we're going to sit down with Brendan and Paul Tidsdale and we're going to think how we're going to move forward. They didn't even have the decency to come up with some political speak like that. They just said, no, this is how we do it. We're right, you're wrong. Next.
Ram it.
Ram it.
It's really bizarre. And we will simply never know, because even if we ask, then they fob it off. They quite literally shrug, right? So we can resign ourselves to the fact that we will never know how these things work, because we tried. We put people in the building. We asked them via these representatives. We asked them dead to their face, what goes on here with these transfers, and they just shrugged, right? So we will simply never know. But even that, on the point about Brendan Rodgers signs off on all the transfers, again, could mean a number of things. Quite literally, it means he wants all of every single player that comes through the gates of Celtic Park. He has personally demanded them and or really, really rated them all the way to. He just sort of, well, yeah, I'll take them. But in the case of these ones that are the source of the question, because no one's asking about Kieran Tierney, no one's asking about Arne Engels, no one's asking about Austin Trusty, Adam Maeda previously, no one's asking about them. It's the sort of flim flam that come in, just
the flotsam and jetsam.
The flotsam and jetsam, yeah, the prospects for the future and all that. People are asking about them, and why Brendan Rodgers would really even want any input on a player that isn't for the here and now when he's in the last year of his contract anyway. I've absolutely no idea. So Brendan Rodgers, I suppose, in effect, shouldn't get a say in that, because if the idea is the recruitment team, talent identification department have identified these 3 players, but they're going to take a year, 18 months of getting up to speed. What's that got to do with Brendan Rodgers? So the whole thing just doesn't make any sense from really any angle.
And it's a strange way to look at it as well, isn't it? Bringing in guys in their mid-20s into an environment where they're not playing and going, these are for the long term. All right, so the current manager doesn't think they're worthy of playing more than 20 minutes this season, but the next manager is going to rate them as a player.
Yeah.
Do we really want that next manager? I don't think so.
It's like that phrase, it's like, this isn't a problem for me, this is a problem for future me. And then future me arrives and I have to deal with this problem. And that's basically, that's the Celtic transfer policy. Yeah. It's not a problem for just now, Brendan. It's a problem for future Brendan, should he exist. But Stephen, see this long-term signings thing? Is there any merit in this at all? Or should we just be signing players for the here and now? Unless they're... I suppose you do need young players coming through. You need to develop youngsters in some way, shape or form. But the sort of 20-odd-year-old project future, is there any merit in it at all?
No, not for me. No, I think it's pretty proven over the course of like 15, even stretching back to Strachan's era now, that it doesn't work. Because I jokingly, admittedly, a few weeks ago, I sort of jokingly ran through the bare numbers of it, and the players over 20 who go out on loan, none of them make it. None of them make it at all. You get what was it, 5 out of 101 or something like that, that we worked out. So it clearly doesn't work. I don't think there's any value in it at all. What Celtic need to do, yes, they need to find younger players to develop and eventually sell on, because that's part of the model. But you look at the success stories in that, none of them came in and took a year, 18 months, 2 years to develop and get into the first team at 22, 23. The success stories are, don't need to list them all, but Edwards and Matt O'Reilly and Jota, those are the ones.
Kyogo, who was mid-20s.
Yeah. I mean, Kyogo.
Like, my point is, they don't need to be young. They don't need to necessarily be young players.
Exactly. Completely agree with that. So no, I think it needs reworked. At this point, I think it desperately needs rework, because it's been years and years and years of this sort of stuff. It obviously works. Even guys like Frimpong, who may have been brought in with an idea to develop him over a longer period of time, but they brought him in and he was so good they played him almost immediately. Aye. That's where to focus on. Get in guys who, if they're not going to start every week, they should be of a level. The minimum we should expect is that they should be of a level where they can trouble the first team match day squad immediately, or within the first 3 months or something like that. This idea that you need to bring them in, stick them out on loan for ages, it's a complete failure for me. And really? I really wish it's a complete waste of resources, and I wish it was a bit more channeled towards like finding proper talent that you can do this with, rather than trying to identify this trait in a player. If you bring him in, maybe we can train him to be something completely different over the course of 18 months. I think it's a complete waste.
Yeah, look, like you say, Jamie, what is it you say? We're trying to be too cute by half. Like,
yeah,
we're always going, see that
too clever. I say Celtic ever try to be too clever by half.
Too clever by half. Like, no, I see that deal that all these other clubs are doing. We'll do something a wee bit different, and we'll go down a level to get these players, and we just end up with a bloated squad that with guys on money that they're never going to get elsewhere. And you just look at it and go, right, when Celtic go out and spend money, they usually do all right. All right, we've had Adam Maeda, Engels that maybe haven't worked out, but we've moved Adam Maeda on and didn't make a big loss on a guy who had a big highlights reel for Celtic, didn't he? He scored big goals. The reason we ask about this is because every year, every season, we see this happening time after time. and we don't get any benefit from it. We just get a bloated squad, all these players. We just keep asking questions. Why are they here? You've got a manager coming out for his second stint and saying the same things he did in his first stint about why am I getting these players? I don't see them playing. And even if what is a long-term signing at Celtic, for me, it's somebody that's going to be there for 3 seasons. Because most
Absolute
players,
maximum.
you're lucky to get 2. And one of our big gripes right now is there's too many players that have been there for too long, and they've been there and done it, and it just looks stale. So we need to be more aggressive, like Ange said, and we just seem to be getting further and further away from that.
When we're talking about signings and bizarre ones, I think it's worthwhile now bringing up Jemai Simpson-Pusey.
Still find him.
Who's come from Man City.
He's another long-term one again. Do you remember that?
English Premier League 2 Player of the Year last year. Comes up to Celtic on loan from Manchester City. Had some first team time at Manchester City. Rumours that he refused to play previously for the B team. Finally got his long-awaited debut in Celtic B against East Fife. Yeah, and the KDM Evolution Trophy.
Wow, wowzers, trousers.
Well, I paused for effect there, waiting for you guys to bust out with excitement. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, he didn't have the best time. Celtic lost 5-3 in that game. Simpson-Pusey was fairly awful. I'm having a quick scan of some of the feedback here, and it's just a peculiar signing, isn't it, Melly?
Another one to add to it, so that was him, Maeda, and Inamura all didn't even make the Champions League squad. So was it a third of our signings didn't even get into the Europa League squad? So again, we're just filling the squad with guys that the manager doesn't rate. This guy came with a reputation. It looked like he was going to be the centre half, or if not, a very good backup. But he's nowhere near it. And now we're looking at it going, right, there was another position we didn't fill, so we're going to have to fill it at some point because there's weaknesses all over the place. Very strange for him as well. I'm sure he came up here thinking, I'll get myself first team football, I'll get European exposure to play in Europe, and then I'll go back to Man City and hopefully press on for the first team. And you're just looking about it going, right, so Celtic aren't a good club for people to go to permanent transfers because they quite literally hold their players hostage and don't let them leave. And now we're bringing up loan players and just discarding them into our B team to play how many levels down from what they're used to. It's just strange.
It is quite jarring, isn't it, Stephen, to think about? I mean, look, it's when you get stuck in these little traps with Celtic. I know it as someone who spends probably too much time talking about Celtic on various things that we do. You kind of get
audience nodding.
Audience / let the other two talk. But you do get stuck in a little bit of a trough where you think your thought process has got everything's bad, everything's shit, everything's awful. He's wasting his time making up, and it's hard not to see it like that. But is there any argument at all to say the guy never did any pre-C? He's finally starting to make some moves. He's getting game time and we might expect to see him sometime soon. Is there any argument at all? Because for me, it's as you might say, it's thin gruel, because to think about the level that he finds himself at with the Celtic B team playing East Fife in the Cup versus what he was doing last season, it's leagues and leagues and leagues below what could in any way aid his development. If he's here to be developed, you're not going to leave a system or an environment like the Man City Academy and come and play East Fife or Stephen McManus's Celtic B team. That's not going to aid your development in any kind of way, surely.
No, and I know that there are some fans who look upon it very much from that angle only, as if we've brought in players so that we can develop them for other clubs. I know there is that kind of that kind of sentiment out there, people who just don't like taking loans from other clubs, and that's fine. But to me, that's not what this was. This was taking a player of repute and hoping that he was going to improve the Celtic first team squad. Yeah. No, the other way around. Like Man City
never afford them.
No. Man City are perfectly capable of developing their own players. They don't need to send them to Celtic and then Celtic send them to, was it Bayview or whatever the stadium is there? No, I mean, no disrespect. There's nothing to do with East Fife, but my point is Man City are perfectly capable of sending Jemai Simpson-Pusey anywhere in Europe and he would have probably got on better than he's done at Celtic. It's not necessarily Celtic's fault, but I think that was not to develop Man City's player. Although there was a bit of that in it as well. That's why Man City are going to agree to it after all, to get him a bit of first team and hopefully European experience. But this was a guy who was brought in to be at least kind of supplementary to the first choice two centre halves, in addition to Trusty and whoever else is going to be in the squad, Murray. So has fundamentally failed on not just that level, but basically every level so far. But you're right, this could be this kind of turning point. This could be like, right, he's finally got a little bit of playing time after presumably months now of absolutely nothing. I there might be something in the rumours. This is of no insight whatsoever. I don't know anything about the behind the scenes of that, but there were rumours they had, as we noted before, they'd refused to play for the B team.
Yeah.
So maybe it is just a case of, right, we're putting that behind us and we're going to get you back up to like fitness here. This is how to start. This is kind of a sort of gesture of goodwill. Let's go and get you a game in the B team. It's gone disastrously, but there's no doubt about it.
Because you would never see Trusty in the B team. You would never see these guys in the B team, and you would think that if you're a first team player, then why are you even involved with the B team at all?
I believe the rules are that once you've played 5 first team games for the first team, first team games for the first team, but once you've played 5 games for, say again, the first team, you're disqualified. There might be sort of special circumstances where you get, it's like coming back from an injury or something where you could get.
I wasn't aware of that.
I think the basic rule is that it's to prevent that. It's to prevent just dumping players and going playing against. Like,
so are we maybe uncovering positives here? Is it the fact that we need to get this guy playing some sort of football? Melee, not convinced.
A final thing. That's a guy with Champions League experience, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to gain anything from playing against. As
Can he
with
do
respect,
it on a wet Friday night?
yeah, playing against men, proper men. Never mind that Champions League stuff. Play against posties and mechanics and all that in the Lowland League.
See if there was a view of him being a Celtic player at some point, he would be in the Europa League squad, would he not? Because this Europa League runs to the end of January.
Yeah.
Now, that's a long time for you to have a player and not deem him even usable. And that it just seems crazy to me that you've got a guy from Man City, bring him down here, and then you've basically written off any European football for him until February at least, and that's even if we qualify for something. So if it was just a case of fitness, surely would have included them in the squad with the view of, do you know what, see by the second international break, it'll be up to speed. We can get him in. We've got games Thursday, Sunday. We've got midweek games all the way through. We'll need this guy. But to have Dane Murray and Austin Trusty ahead of him and Liam Scales is pretty damning.
So does that maybe support the other idea then? If it's not just been purely fitness, does that maybe support the other idea, the possible conspiracy theory that there was maybe a little bit of disagreement or a fallout or something, and now what we're seeing now is the kind of road to repair of that? Possibly. Again, maybe. Pure speculation from me, but it's starting to kind of add up a wee bit.
All we can do is speculate.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying earlier on. You get stuck
Good luck
in
asking the board.
I know.
Did that send directly to their faces about it?
Hey, can you tell us what's going on with Jemai Simpson-Pusey? Michael Nicholson said, who? But this is it. You could sit here and you could take all the grains of evidence and go, it's all crap and there's fallouts left, right, centre, and this is pointless. We might as well send the guy home. Or you could look at it and go, okay, well, he wasn't in the team. He was AWOL. Now he's starting to get in the team again. Maybe we're trying to get him up to a bit of fitness. How he's going to fit in now with Scales being basically a mainstay for that Celtic defence, I don't think there's any conversation about that anymore. Scales is second, if not third name on the team sheet for Celtic now. I think that's pretty much a given. Trusty's coming back from fitness. Where are you going to see Simpson-Pusey? I really don't know. Melly, you said that the European football runs to the end of January. Do you think he'll be here at the end of January? If you were to take a guess?
I wouldn't say so, no. I think if it continues like this, all parties would just go, look, this hasn't worked out. We'll just can it. It means he can get back and either go out on another loan or end up at cover at Man City. And what's better for his development, training at Man City or training at Celtic? It's always going to be Man City, isn't it?
It's a difficult couple of weeks potentially for Celtic, Stephen. We've got some massive games. We've got Hearts, we've got Rangers in the Cup, we've got Midtjylland and Sturm Graz, all before the next international break. It's really sort of the next 7-8 weeks before the next international break is really going to define our season, isn't it?
It could do. It's going to be really tough, and I think we should strap in for a bit of a roller coaster in there, because that's a really tough run of fixtures. I think there's Kilmarnock in there as well, so who are, I think, currently third in the league. So it's a really important run Celtic are going to go on. I think we've all largely resigned ourselves to the fact that this isn't going to be one of those seasons that we've seen in the past where Celtic just go on a all-conquering run and just sweep aside all teams, rack up 15, 16, 17, 20 wins in a row and everything's fine. I don't think this season's going to be like that, and there's loads and loads of banana skins in there, particularly the way Celtic are playing, and particularly obviously the kind of makeup of the squad just now. Some chat about potential injuries coming back from international breaks and so on. So it really could define the season. I still, famous last words and all that, clip this up. I still think Celtic hopefully have enough about them to navigate that without too much damage. But as I say, I don't think it's a case of power through all that, just win all of the games. I think you are looking at it and thinking, right, where are the inevitable pitfalls going to come in here, and can we win enough?
Do you think there is enough for Celtic to navigate the damage? Because looking at the evidence so far, we've got 1 point out of 6 in the Europa League.
Yeah.
Midtjylland and Storm Graz will be difficult ties. You've got Rangers in the Cup, who we've failed to beat under 3 different managers. It will now be 4.
Yeah.
We've got Hearts, who are unbeaten and flying at the top of the league. If Hearts win that game and could go 5 points ahead of Celtic, and I know it's like worst.
Is that
case
before or after McInnes joins Rangers?
Well, I know.
Goes 5 points, joins us, joins Rangers, beats us in the Cup.
He'll wait till the week they're playing Hearts, and then he'll pick the team for Hearts, and then he'll join Rangers, won't he?
Oh yeah,
like last time. But I don't see. I know it's a negative way of thinking, but between now and the November international break, I don't see Celtic getting 6 points from the Europa League. I don't see them also beating Rangers and Hearts in there. So there's going to be they're either going to lose games in Europe or go out the Cup or go further behind in the league. There's one of them. One of those three one of those three is going to happen. So what one would you rather? What one's most likely? Probably the European one is the most likely. Midtjylland will be a very difficult tie, but it's unthinkable to think that we get beat off Rangers or Hearts.
Aye, that's going to cause real problems. I mean, I think
we can't lose to Rangers. We can't, and we say it all the time. It means nothing. It's like what you were saying earlier on, Steve, but we need to win football games. Me sitting on a podcast called "We Can't Lose to Rangers." It means absolutely nothing because there's no consequences. Brendan Rodgers could lose every game between now and the end of the next international window, and he's not going to get sacked. The board are not going to do anything. We'll just bumble through at the end of the season and see what happens and hope Hearts don't win the league. But we cannot lose to Rangers this up and coming tie. The manager will just be in the door or not here yet. It'll be Stevie Smith or someone else or God knows who. Like, we can't. It's unthinkable for me anyway.
Bilal Moshney, something like that, managing the team.
Mind him?
He gets it. He's up for the fight.
Oh, he does.
Get him in. Ian Black. So no, it's completely incomprehensible to think that we would possibly lose to Rangers again. I think, James, you've been quite fond of saying over this terrible run that Celtic have been in on derbies that how easy do you want it to get? Like, Rangers keep offering up these like complete dud, hapless managers, and Celtic just fail to beat them routinely.
There's only one way it gets easier, just to jump in quickly, and that's to be managerless.
yeah. They might be any more knockbacks, and it could be the case. Because what has also gone under the radar during this hilarious period is that apparently Dyche said no thanks as well, but nobody cared at the time because who cares? We're getting Mr. 55 back in Mr. Suit back in the doors, so nobody cared about Dyche. But no, that's the glowing one on that list of fixtures that we're going to run through, and that's coming up soon. Cannot contemplate losing that. I mean,
need to beat Hearts away as well. That's going to be that tie Sunday away at Tynecastle's going to be. You're right in what you're saying. We're saying about Rangers, but I'm scrolling down the fixtures here, and that Hearts tie is just sitting like a big glowing beacon. Well,
yeah, I mean, look, you need to win the semi-final anyway if you've got any designs on winning the trophy, clearly. But yes. the Hearts one is massive. Like we'll find out a lot about Well, not only about Celtic, but Hearts as well. I mean, that's how big a game this is. Like, we can talk about Hearts falling off inevitably all we like, because history teaches you that we do get like these teams that start well. Aberdeen just last season. I mean, that's happened. It's happened to Hearts in the past. Not too recent past, but it has happened within kind of the last 20 years, and they inevitably fall away. Well, we'll find out, won't we? It's all very well saying that, but that's only because it tends to be a sort of what tends to just be Celtic these days. But we will find an awful lot out about the likelihood of. Well, it's not going to determine the destination of the title, but it's definitely the biggest domestic game so far, by a long way.
I don't know, the cup game against Rangers, you don't get into Europe for the League Cup, so the board will maybe be that bothered.
Well, true.
Very true.
Listen, on that, before we go, bumped into a couple of guys from the walking football Scotland team, and they're participating in the Walking Football World Cup, and they asked me, they say they listen to the podcast. I said, prove it, get your phone out, show me. They weren't on Patreon, but I broke my golden rule there. If you meet me and you're on Patreon, you get a hello and a handshake. But anyway, that's a joke. I'm lying. It's not true. I just want to wish those guys good luck at the Walking Football World Cup, which kicks off next week. So I promised I would do that, and I'm doing that. Best luck to the lads. Patreon.com/20minute Tims if you want extra content from us, and we'll be back very, very soon.